So far in his starts, 14 walks and 16 in the third innings. So I would assume they will be a little more patient with this left-hander, make him get in the strike zone. But you know what? Get again, go again, get a lead early, and take it from there.
The White Sox take the field, and our window system's game time temperature tonight. Cold. How about that? 54. That might be generous. It's cold and damp after the rain here in Chicago, but unseasonably cold. 15 to 20 degrees below normal for this time of year. After it was what, 80 here on the first day of the series?
Yes, it was Monday. Sure was.
All right, so Carlos Rodon heating it up for Chicago. The Indians starting lineup for Terry Francona, brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Jason Kipnis at the top spot, tripled, and with 2 hits in the series. 3+ times he's reached base in 9 of his last 10 games. Jose Ramirez bats second. He's really swinging it well in the 2-hole. Michael Brantley bats third. Then it's Rayburn, Swisher, and Aviles in the middle. Brandon Moss. Brett Hayes gets the start behind the plate tonight, and Michael Bourne hits ninth.
Our Northern Ohio Honda dealer's starting pitcher is 22-year-old left-hander Carlos Rodon. He is 6'3", 235 pounds. He is making his 3rd start of the season, his 6th appearance. His very first major league debut came against the Indians here, where he pitched 2 1/3 innings, gave up 3 hits, a couple of runs. He walked 3, struck out 1. And they are going to get a look at him. Fastball, slider, changeup. And left-handers are hitting 412 off him. Righties just 239. So we'll see what he has to offer for the Indians tonight. Let's check out the Sox defense, which is brought to you by Chrysler. It'll be the same as last night. Cabrera in left, Eaton in center, Garcia in right. Gillespie at third, Ramirez at short, Sanchez at second, Abreu at first, Tyler Flowers doing the catching.
Dale Scott has the plate tonight. Crew Chief Larry Vanover is at first. Ron Kolpa at second. Brian Knight at third. We are ready to go.
All right.
The White Sox have undergone a number of different uniform incarnations over the years. I mean, you think back to at one time they were primarily red. You know, there's red hats, white jerseys with the red lettering.
They had red pinstripes at one point.
Then they went to these. Well, then they had that goofy.
They had the
shorts,
the shorts, the lapels.
Yeah,
in the 70s, right.
Then they went to these in the 80s. And then I think maybe it was when this ballpark opened, they went to the black.
Yeah, the Dick Allen era with the pinstripes. I like those uniforms.
Jason Kipnis following it back out of play. So on Wednesday nights, they do the throwback honoring the 1983 Western Division champion team. The 0-2. Swing and a miss. Carlos Rodon strikes out Kipnis to start tonight. Keys to the game are brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Make Rodon get in the zone. And for Sean Markham, look, Markham is a control pitcher.
Yes.
Doesn't have a
speeds.
Blazing fastball. He's got to be able to hit his spots. Rodon fires a fastball into Jose Ramirez for strike 1.
Well, he's not messing around. 4 pitches, 4 strikes.
Up the middle. And Ramirez has his 4th hit in the series. So a 1-out base runner now for Michael Brantley.
Going to see a ball down in the zone, and he's a good low ball hitter. And he gets the barrel of the bat to it, gets it past Ramirez into center field. So good to see him starting to make some left-hand turns and get on the base early in the ball game.
Lobs the toss over to first.
See what kind of move he has. He's 6'3", 235 pounds. See if he's got a big leg kick, or you have to guess on him.
Brantley lifts it to left. Cabrera makes the catch, and there are 2 down in the first. And up comes Ryan Rayburn. All lefty starters in the series for Chicago, 4 in all.
That is amazing timing, because Samardzija, who is their 5th starter, he started against Oakland on Sunday. So that would be the only right-hander you're not going to see in the series. And when the Indians go home, they're going to face 3 right-handers against Cincinnati.
Yeah, this is unusual. If you missed it in the series opener, I mentioned that this only happened to the Indians previously back in 2004 against Kansas City. The Royals threw 4 lefties at them in a 4-game series, Brian Anderson being one of them. The only other time it happened in the last 100 years was against the White Sox. It happened in 1950. And the White Sox had 4 lefty starters to go at them.
They had a string where they saw 6 out of 7 this year, earlier in the year, but not 4 straight coming into a series. Good jump.
Jinx. He's in there safely.
It was a good jump. I like to see him get on and run against the left-handers.
That's his 7th steal of the year.
I mean, we both caught him out of the corner of our eye taking off, and he almost stumbled. But he still goes head first, running downhill, beats the tag. So for Ramirez, his 7th stolen base out of 8 tries. You see it at the same time, that's a jinx. That's a good jinx.
That's a good jinx. Here's Ryan Rayburn trying to bring him home now. And he takes a strike, 2-1.
Okay, he was probably sitting on the fastball, takes his breaking ball 2-1. That's good to know if you're a right-hander on the bench, what he likes to throw in certain counts. 2-0. Threw Rayburn the breaking ball.
Came back with a fastball, but it was low.
As I mentioned, right-handers, you know, he's been better against. 239 average coming into today's game, 46 at bats. Right-handers had 11 hits, but left-handers, they were 7 for 17. That was the exact opposite last night with Quintana.
Rayburn checks. Did he go? He did not, and it's ball 4. So 2 on, 2 out. Nick Swisher coming up. Let's go down to Andre, who has more on Rodon.
You know, the more guys you talk to in the clubhouse today, they said after seeing him this first time out, the slider is the key pitch. They said they know he's got a lot of mouth power when it comes to the fastball, but his slider, because it can sweep away from you if you're left-handed, it can sweep into your hands as a right-handed batter. The slider is the pitch that all these batters are worried about tonight versus him.
Okay. Well, if he can, and that may be why he walks so many people. If he can't command the fastball, he's got to stay with that slider. So we'll keep an eye on the fastball command, but he came out throwing strikes early.
And Swisher takes down low, ball 1.
Now, if that's the slider, I wouldn't swing at it unless you have to. Make him. Let's see how many times he can throw it for strikes.
That's outside. And now Tyler Flowers has to go out. 2-0 the count.
See, when you have a guy that can be inconsistent, the more you make him work, you get into his head a little bit, especially a young pitcher going up there. He wants to go out there and throw strikes, but boy, once you get people on base, you can get into their heads. Don Cooper, the pitching coach, working with a young 22-year-old. When you try and finish a guy off at the big league level, sometimes that pressure can be a little tough.
And there is a called strike. It's 2-1.
And I mean, we see our own young pitchers, you know, they'll have a couple of really good games and take a step back. You know, Salazar, sometimes Carrasco, some of the younger guys, although they're not this young.
He peppers the zone again. It's 2-2 with a fastball.
Well, you wonder what he's looking for. A 2-1 pitch. You get the fastball. You can't. I wouldn't think he'd be looking for a slider. You don't want to hit that pitch 2-1.
And the 2-2. There's a fastball hit right at the shortstop. Ramirez goes to second for the inning-ending force. No runs a hit, 2 men left. The White Sox are coming to bat when we return. So Sean Markham ready to go for the Indians. Here's the starting lineup for Robin Ventura and the White Sox, presented by Toyota. Adam Eaton and Melky Cabrera at the top. Jose Abreu is hitting 14 straight. He hits third. Then is Adam LaRoche. Aviseo Garcia, Connor Gillespie, Alexi Ramirez, Tyler Flowers, and Carlos Sanchez rounded out.
Northern Ohio Honda dealer starting pitcher Sean Markham making his first start this year. He has 1 appearance coming out of the bullpen and was a 5-inning appearance, 3 hits and 1 run against Detroit back on April 12th. Has pretty good numbers against the White Sox in his career. 4-0. Last time he started against them was 2013. Went 8 innings, gave up 4 hits, did not allow a run.
A little bit low, 2-0. There's a pitch in for a strike. It's 2-1. Adam Eaton thus far 2 for 8 in the series with a triple. Markham comes back with a breaking ball for a strike to even the count at 2-2. Eaton has hit an 8th straight, batting .361 during his hitting streak. Upstairs, full count.
Well, Sean Markham has to use the inside part of the play. It's like an 86. He'll go anywhere 86 to 88 with his fastball. He has to pitch in, and his changeup's anywhere around 80 miles per hour. So that, you know, that difference is not that great as it once was.
And the payoff pitch. Hits it on the ground. Moss takes it himself. 1 away.
Let's check out the Tribe defense behind Markham, brought to you by Chrysler. It'll be Brantley in left field. Bourne is in center. Rayburn gets the start and right. Avila's back at third base. Ramirez at short. Kipnis at second. Moss is at first with Brett Hayes doing the catching.
Melky Cabrera, switch hitter. 2 for 8 in the series. After that 0 for 14, Cabrera has gone 8 for 23. Looks at the ball down low, 2-0. Markham with a fastball outside, missing, 3-0. Melky Cabrera in his career has batted .276 against the Indians. And this year he's gone 8 for 29, which is a .276 average. 3-1 fastball right there. So again, I kind of like the at bat for Nick Swisher. 2-1 count, 3-1 count. You're looking, that ball's right there. I'm surprised Abreu doesn't pull the trigger. Cabrera. Now the 3-2. He swung and missed at the same pitch. So Sean Markham comes back to get Cabrera.
It's a good comeback.
2 down. Stat of the game brought to you by Buick for Sean Markham in his career against both the White Sox and the Cubs.
He must like the heavenly bets here in Chicago. Here he is, another guy that likes Chicago.
He likes Lake Michigan?
Yes, indeed.
2 down, Jose Abreu. And a little bit low, ball 1. Abreu has hit in 14 straight games, collecting 18 hits during his streak. It's the longest current streak right now.
Yeah, he had 3 of those streaks last year. You know, some long streaks. That's how, for a big man, he's a very good hitter. Gets going on a lot of long streaks, like Michael Brantley.
Just missed inside. But that's a good pitch for Markham. You're going to miss in and off the plate.
Yeah, you have to miss off the dish. No doubt when you're not overpowering.
2-1 curveball and a big swing and a miss to even it up.
You know, it's almost, let's see what this is. A slider, curveball, cutter. It's
slurvy.
Yeah, I mean, it's 79. It's changeup's 80, but it has cut to it or going the other way. So not sure exactly what kind of breaking ball it is, but it's got movement going away from the right-handed hitters.
And the 2-2 to Abreu. To center field. And Michael Bourne makes the catch. The White Sox go 1-2-3. No score after an inning.
MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcast stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Blanket weather it is. Not quite as windy. Last night the wind was blowing in, and it was knocking a lot of the baseballs down out in the outfield. Don't think it's going to do it tonight, but it may not have a lot of carry to it.
Mike Aviles looks at the ball in off the plate.
Already our second trip into the Windy City this year to play the Sox.
Mike shoots one toward right center field. That's going to drop for a base hit. And the Indians have their second hit of the night. Leadoff man aboard for the first time.
Well, a nice stroke by Aviles. You get that ball. Looked like he had a little run to it. A fastball inside. He takes it the other way. Good swing. Base hit. Hit number 2 for the Tribe.
And Brandon Moss will be the batter.
I always like talking to that first baseman when you get a knock, don't you?
Moss pops it up.
Well, it's tough to see from our vantage
Boy,
point up in those clouds right about now, isn't it?
One away. Grab some friends, catch a game at the new Corner Bar, which is open to all fans at Progressive Field. $13 district tickets presented by Sports Time Ohio. They're going quickly, so you better get online and grab them now at Indians.com/district ticket. It'll be hopping this weekend with the Indians and the Reds. So I know
Friday,
2 of the
Saturday,
games.
yeah.
Brett Hayes takes its low ball 1. Aviles drawing a throw from Rodon. Brett Hayes has collected 5 hits. 3 of them have been home runs.
Yeah, they've gone the distance, haven't they? Had one in Texas.
That kind of play.
Well, Gomes is awfully close to getting back. I'm sure he'll play when we get back home at some point in time.
Yeah, barring any kind of a setback,
yeah.
I think a real good chance we'll see him soon. Gomes scheduled to catch 7 innings tonight. There's a liner to center field.
Oh boy.
And a nice running catch made by Eaton.
And hit it much better than that. Right on the line. Right on the nose. Nothing to show for it, but a good swing there by Brett Hayes. Had a fastball. And Eaton is going to run it down.
Yeah, in fact, I think, Rick, TJ House is pitching in that game with Yan Gomes tonight.
Okay, that'll be good. Yeah, I think they're pitching. Where are they pitching? In Columbus?
Yes.
Okay. Hour away, so we may hear something soon on those 2.
In there for a strike. Ironically, Columbus is playing Buffalo, the former home of the Indians AAA club. Low and away, Bourne. Lays off. It's 1-1. Toss over to first, but he's paying a lot of attention to Aviles.
Well, you know, he does have a little slide step, but I think when he does that, it rushes a little bit, and the control may not be there. He may be more consistent when he takes his full kick, and he's a little bit slower to the plate. There's a little slide step. You see what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
He rushes a little bit. His arm doesn't catch up, and that's all part of the process with a young pitcher at the big league level trying to control the running game, where, you know, sometimes they want him to do different things, and that was just a breaking ball. I mean, he wasn't throwing it, Borney. He just got underneath it. His arm didn't catch up. I'll bet this pitch he'll have the full leg kick.
That way they did. Runner goes, and the throw is high, and Mike Aviles has a stolen base, his first of the year.
I was thinking that's a good time to run for the situation it was in. It was a 3-0 pitch to Bourne. You know he was going to throw a fastball. He wasn't going to slide step, and you could just get off and get off. He wasn't going to throw to first base because he was concentrating on throwing a strike. Mike didn't get a real good jump, but the throw from Flowers was up, and it enabled him to get that foot in. So that was a good time to run. Now you got a 3-1 pitch.
Low and away, and now full count.
Oh, it was 2-1. Huh?
Yeah, it was 2-1. Yeah, but still, you called it. When he has to throw a strike, he goes to the big leg kick. And Bourne strikes out. Inning over. No runs, a hit, a man left. Second inning here in Chicago. Adam LaRoche, Aviseo Garcia, and Connor Gillespie due for Chicago. And a strike is called. It's 0-2.
Now Aviles can drop way back with 2 strikes. It's the shortstop position, and 3 guys over on the right side of the infield.
Tried to paint the outside corner, just missed. Now he pushes him off the plate, but not what he wanted to do there. 2-2. Just missed down low, able to lay off a close pitch.
Yeah, he did. Well, he has 23 walks on the year, which is about 5th best in the league. It's that little cutter, off-speed pitch that he doesn't chase after it.
Whoa! Lined it right back up the middle and almost nailed Markham.
Yeah, it made him get down. He had to. Elevator, bottom floor, please. I mean, you talk about having to get down. He saw it coming and he gets out of the way. So that'll be the first hit for the Sox. The leadoff single by LaRoche here in the second.
So the Sox have their leadoff man aboard for Garcia. And he chases after that pitch. 0-1.
We've seen him do that early in maybe his first at bat, where he'll chase a couple of breaking balls out of the zone, and as he gets to see that pitcher at second and third time, he has a tendency to lay off of him. Yeah, this guy is they're expecting him to have a pretty big year, and he's off to a terrific start. Very talented if he can stay healthy this year.
Just outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Sean Markham grew up in Missouri and went to the University of Missouri as a freshman, then transferred to Southwest Missouri State. He was mostly an infielder, also pitched out of the bullpen. But pitching wasn't really his main thing when he was in college. Still, the Blue Jays took a shot, made him a 3rd-round pick. To center field. Back goes Bourne. On to the warning track. Makes the catch for out number 1. Back to first goes LaRoche. Today's Levin player profile features Sean Markham, who, even though he grew up in Missouri, his loyalties were kind of split between the Cubs and the Royals. So much so that when his son was born, he convinced his wife to name his son Ryan after Ryne Sandberg, who was his favorite player growing up.
Okay, so then that's the Cubbies.
Yeah.
They went out. Got to have courage to do that.
And a pitch outside to Connor Gillespie, 1-0. Swung out and missed. 1 ball, 1 strike. You know, a lot of people don't remember that. You know, Brett Lawrie, you think of Brett Lawrie as being a Blue Jay, but he went from Milwaukee in that trade. Markham went to the Brewers.
Okay. Oh, and
Brewers
Lawrie
sent Lawrie
now
to
that you
Toronto.
mentioned it, I do remember that. Markham had a couple of good years with the Brewers.
Yeah. Swing and a miss by Gillespie. 1-2 the count. He was a 13-game winner for Toronto in 10. Then in 11, he won 13 games for Milwaukee at a 3.54 ERA. Trying to make that pitch dance over the outside corner, but it misses 2-2. Swing and a miss. He gets him to chase. Second strikeout for Markham. 2 down here in the inning. Let's go down to Andre. What's the latest on TJ House and Yan Gomes?
Tonight, TJ pitched for the Columbus Clippers, and Yan Gomes caught for him. House pitched 5 innings, allowed 4 hits, 1 walk with 4 strikeouts, 0 earned runs. He threw 73 pitches, guys, 45 of them strikes. For Gomes, he was 1 of 2 with a walk, and he was robbed of extra base hits. Both of those guys have left the game after 7 innings, so it looks like both of them had a very good night in Columbus.
You've got good connections down in Columbus if you know he got robbed of a couple of knocks.
I got a lot of good stuff down here. Don't you worry about it. I'm nice and warm.
I bet you are.
We might want to come down there and do the game then if you're warm.
Anytime. He's always welcome.
And Alexei Ramirez takes. It's 0-2.
I don't know if Andre realized it's a package deal. We both go. It's not one of us.
There might not be room down there. Maybe that's why it's warm. Close quarters. He steps away, does Markham. Ramirez hitless in the series. Batting .235 on the year now. Pulls it foul.
It's the White Sox team that normally they usually live on the long ball. They've hit just 1 homer in the last 5 games, and they're not a team that steals a lot of bases.
Low and away. Well, Rick, with regards to Ramirez, I think it would be foolish to write him off as over the hill. But at 33, this is the last year of his deal here in Chicago. You do wonder what the future holds for a guy like Ramirez. He's had a very productive career.
Yeah, he's been very good here for a while.
Swung on and missed. Markham strikes him out. He's fan 3 through the first 2 innings. And we are scoreless in Chicago. improving stat. Jason Kipnis, 17 May games, batting .486.
Yeah, how about that, huh?
And in the leadoff spot, hitting .394.
2 knocks a night.
Struck out his first time up, takes the ball inside.
I think it's safe to say he likes the leadoff spot.
He's taken to it well. And right at the second baseman, Sanchez. 1 away.
Well, 10,000 fans are going to receive a 1975 replica jersey. That'll be courtesy of Shears. That'll take place Saturday. The Indians will take on the Cincinnati Reds, and the old red jerseys worn by many good ball players. Frank Robinson, the manager that year. Boog Powell, Buddy Bell. A lot of the boys. That'll be given away on Saturday. 4 o'clock start.
Pitches outside. Jose Ramirez bagged a single right up the middle his first time up. He has 4 hits in the series to lead the club. Just missed outside. Rodon nibbling, but couldn't get the call. 3-1.
Gave him some swinging room that time. That pitch was just on the inside corner.
And the payoff is in the dirt, ball 4. So Ramirez has been aboard safely both times tonight.
Well, let's see what he does now from the stretch with a guy that already stole a base off him.
Michael Brantley flied to left. His only time up. 1 out of 9 as you see there in the series. Pitches outside. Ball 1. Brantley began the night 6th in the American League in batting average. Right behind Avisail Garcia of Chicago and Jason Kipnis, his teammate. And that's out of play to the left. One on, one out here in the third. No score. Jose Ramirez, the 1-out walk. Stole a base in the first inning. And Brantley fouls that back out of play. In fact, it was a 2-1 pitch that he ran on.
With Rayburn up there hitting? Or was it Brantley?
Can't remember now if it was Rayburn or Brantley. I think it was Rayburn. Brantley flied out quick.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think he went on the first pitch. He went early.
Shoots it to the left side of the infield. Ramirez goes to second. They get one on the first. Double play. Wow, that was some slick fielding by the Sox infielders. Ramirez to Sanchez to Abreu. And we'll go to the bottom of the third, still scoreless.
Look forward to Miller time later in the ball game. Brought to you by Miller Lite.
Well done. Bottom of the third, Tyler Flowers, Carlos Sanchez, and Adam Eaton for Chicago. Sean Markham has struck out 3. Pops it up. Foul ground. Moss. One away. Markham, you know, the name of his game is location and deception.
Yeah, keep him off the center of the bat. Keep him off stride. That's the key to pitching. You know, and from what we witnessed here, we never really got a good look, and I don't remember. I know he pitched well in his 5 innings against Detroit. He's not overpowering. He's about 88. He throws that good changeup, which he's always had, but it looks like a cutter, a slider, or like a little split that goes in there, and the you know, it's all around the same, around 79, 80 miles an hour, but it goes different directions.
Yeah,
with a lot of the pitches, so sometimes it's tough to tell exactly what he's throwing.
A 1-0 pitch.
But I mean, he stays out of the middle of the plate and stays on the edges.
Well, what do we always talk about with regards to young kids? And I mean young kids like Little League and just beyond Little League when it comes to pitching. You want them to be able to teach them to locate your fastball.
Right.
And
locate it.
Throw a changeup.
Right.
Every kid wants to throw that big curveball, but and Markham played for a Little League coach who forbade them to throw curveballs. So he said one of the first pitches he learned to throw when he was 12, 13 years old was a changeup.
Bingo. And you know what? You can get by with a fastball and changeup if you can locate it. You know, your fastball. Let's go and check this out. Make this our Circle K. There it is. Our special strikeout right there. That ball going down, the changeup out of the zone. You get hitters. Hitters get aggressive. And everything looks the same. That same arm speed coming off the fastball, even though it's 8 miles an hour difference, it looks the same. That's strikeout number 4.
Yeah,
for Markham.
First time through the lineup. White Sox hitters 1 for 9 against him. 1 ball, 1 strike. Two balls, a strike to count for Eaton. 2 for 9 in the series. He rockets one out of here to deep right field, and the White Sox take the lead.
Well, he certainly didn't miss that one, and I'll bet the location of that pitch had a lot of home plate on it, because for Mark Eaton at his home run, or Adam Eaton at his home run number 1. So he gets the White Sox on the board with the second hit, his first homer. Here's the location. Yeah, slider. That one just stayed middle of the plate. He took advantage of it. Speeds up his bat.
So Chicago will play from in front tonight. Melky Cabrera looks low and away, ball 1.
For the White Sox, that's their 24th home run on the season.
What'd you say, 24th?
Yes.
And Houston has how many?
60.
That
was, I think, 61 after today.
Yeah. That disparity is just hard to fathom. 1-1. Now I know as the weather warms up, probably see many more home runs here in Chicago and from this White Sox team.
Well, you would think so, but still, that is. You're right there. Man.
Melky Cabrera on the 1-2 takes a look. It's in the dirt.
35, 36 more home runs at this point. You're not going to make that up, because I'll tell you, Houston's going to continue to hit them. They strike out a lot, though. They can swing and miss with the best of them.
There's not much in between either, is there? Their batting averages are.
That's their last in the league in batting average. Yeah.
Cabrera trying to shoot one through the hole, but Ramirez slides over to grab it, throws him out, and the inning is over. But Adam Eaton socks one out of here for Chicago, and the White Sox lead it 1-0. The Washington Nationals last 12 games, 10 home runs.
Wow, that's some kind of hot right there.
23 runs batted in, and Murph told me he was ejected from tonight's game for arguing balls and strikes.
He has a little bit of an edge to him.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, he's one of those guys from. he seems to be, when you talk to people, you either love him or you hate him.
Well, but he has passion for what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know, he's intense, boy, and you like to see that.
Ryan Rayburn cuts and misses. It's 0-2.
When this guy can get ahead in the count, you see that slider that Rayburn swung at right there. That could be a nasty pitch that is tough to lay off when he's ahead. See, he couldn't hold up. When he gets behind, you can spit on that pitch, but if he can expand on your strike zone like he does right there. Watch this, his third strikeout, and he goes down. That's a great slider. It's not a strike. You're not going to hit it, but boy, you're down in the count, so you want to protect it.
Nick Swisher bounced into an inning-ending fielder's choice in the first. And a fastball in there for a strike. On the appeal, Swisher did not go around. 2-1 to count. And that was a close pitch, but it's 3-1.
You see, the last couple of days they called this pitch strikes. But you see, Swisher said yesterday it was high, but this time it is a call to ball.
Popped up foul, and that will get out of play. Now the payoff pitch in the dirt, ball 4. Third walk already issued by Rodon, but the Indians haven't been able to make him pay yet.
Well, and Friday night we return home. Cincinnati Reds coming in for a weekend series. Friday night is going to be a Dollar Dog night, and it's also going to be fireworks night. The Dollar Dogs, Sugardale Dollar Dogs, and the postgame fireworks will be presented by Wayside Furniture. Go to Indians.com for your tickets.
Carlos Rodon grew up in North Carolina. His parents were both Cuban Americans. His dad was actually born in Cuba. White Sox did a lot of background research on Rodon before they made the selection. And their general manager Rick Hahn said at the time that we envision him to be a front end starter. And this spring, Robin Ventura said of Rodon that he's a more mature kid than a lot of guys that come into camp for the first time. He's a horse, big and strong. He said guys like that last longer and pitch deeper into games. 2 balls and a strike. Certainly there are striking differences physically between he and Chris Sale.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But you have, you know, they have, and the guy last night, Quintana, he throws the ball well.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good pitcher. They are stocked with left-handers. Now the guy John Danks, who they signed, that's one that we will see tomorrow night for the 4th and final one. But I mean, he's had shoulder surgeries, and you know, he's a little short, but he still knows how to pitch. Change up, he'll cut it inside. And then you got the right-hander Samardzija, who's there on the left side of your screen. Sale in the middle. And I think that's Danks over to his right.
Yep. The 2-2. Aviles chops it towards short. Ramirez goes to second. They get one on the first. They did it again.
They can turn it.
Back-to-back inning-ending double plays turned by Ramirez and Sanchez. Went 7 1/3, walked 3, struck out 7, allowed 4 hits, 1 run, picking up his 3rd win of the year. He's 3-1 now on the season. First time through the order. White Sox couldn't touch him. He retired the first 11 in a row to start the game. And finished strong as well. So good outing for Trevor Bauer. Indians got the win to even the series.
Yeah, he's pitched well against the White Sox this year in his 3 starts, no question about it.
And here we are again with another well-pitched game so far. 1-0. Jose Abreu, Adam LaRoche, Avisail Garcia. Chops it foul. 1-2 the count. This is always an interesting part of the game for a pitcher like Markham. He pitched very well first time through the order, but now second time around, what adjustments are made on both sides?
Well, the only blemish on his card really is that little slider that he left middle of the plate to eat. And he hammered it. If he can stay on the edges, we'll see if they make any adjustments to Markham.
Good pitch as he strikes out Abreu. That's 5 Ks for Markham. 1 away here in the 4th inning.
Well, great movement. Looks like a changeup, I guess. There it goes down out of the zone. He gets the swing over the top.
Adam LaRoche, a base hit his first time up, and it was right back at Markham.
Yeah, it was.
Popped him up on the first pitch. Ramirez, the shortstop, says, "I'll take it."
Yeah, he thought he was going to get a fastball, and he pulled the string on him. So that's what you like to see. 1 pitch, 1 out.
Back on the south side tomorrow night to wrap it up. The finale of this 4-game series. Indians Live starts our coverage at 7:30. And then all the action at 8 right here on Sports Time Ohio. It'll be Danny Salazar against John Denks. And maybe Carlos Santana will be back in the lineup tomorrow. Terry Francona was hopeful that he'd be ready to go tonight, but in the end decided to wait 1 more day. 2 down. Garcia fly to center, his only time up. in the dirt.
Well, I'll tell you, Hayes and Markham are working at a pretty good pace. You know, he's not sitting out there. He's got a nice rhythm going. He's putting down the signs. Markham's going with it. So right now they're working very well together.
Chop to third. Mike Aviles will set, throw, got him. 1, 2, 3 go the White Sox. 4 completed. Chicago 1, Cleveland nothing. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough. 1-0 Chicago, 5th inning. Bottom third of the order for Cleveland. Brandon Moss, Brett Hayes, and Michael Bourne.
For Carlos Rodon, he's struck out 3. He's walked 3. He's had a couple of double plays turned, big double plays to get him out of innings the last 2 innings, the 3rd and the 4th.
And Moss takes good fastball for a strike to even the count. And that breaking ball dances over the inside corner. They get ahead now 1-2. Moss pops one. Center field. Eaton. 1 away. Here's our AT&T Uverse rewind. The double plays you referred to, Rick.
Look at that inside out by Brantley. They turn it. And I'll tell you, Sanchez does a nice job of getting that ball out of the glove. Here you go. Another one. That's not a replay. He gets rid of it in a hurry. Quick feet, gets rid of it. And if you make your pitch, they will turn it.
Brett Hayes hit the ball hard his first time up. Lined it to fairly deep center field where Adam Eaton made the catch. And that's going to go out of play to the right. Hayes sends a towering pop to shallow center. Long run in for Eaton, but he's there. And there are 2 down.
Well, the KeyBank Kids tickets start at just $10 for kids 12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket. Kids tickets located in the new family deck out at the ballpark, home to our expanded kids clubhouse. Log on to Indians.com. Kids tickets today.
Michael Bourne struck out his only time up in the 2nd inning. Looks at a ball outside. That's outside. 3-0. Bourne taking all the way. Looks at a strike. 3-1. And now he wraps a base hit into right field. 2-out single keeps the inning alive for Jason Kipnis.
Well, you get the count in your favor. You know you're going to get the fastball in that situation, and Michael's ready for it. It's middle in, and he gets it through the hole between first and second. This is a situation now with Kipnis up there. If you're Borney, you got to look to steal here. 2 outs in the inning. You've got your leadoff man up. See if you can get yourself in scoring position.
Well, we've seen Rodon does not have a great move
by no means.
First base.
No. You know, when he slide steps, he's a little erratic with his pitches like that. When he goes to home plate, he usually has to have that leg kick, and he's about average. He's about 1-3. But for Bourne, you've got to get yourself a decent lead and try and get a good jump and pick one of those pitches to go on.
Caught the corner, and it's 1-1. Again, he went to the higher leg kick that time.
Well, let's look at the pitch. Boy, that's a gift. That looked outside. Yeah, that's not a good move right there. You know he's coming to first.
And Kipnis fouls it off. That's 1-2. Ramirez will take it himself, and that'll end the inning. No runs ahead, a man left. Middle of the 5th, 1-0 Chicago. Adam Eaton in the third, came with 2 outs. White Sox only have 2 hits in the game. That was one of them. Connor Gillespie, Alexei Ramirez, and Tyler Flowers will bat here in the 5th. Line drive, base hit. Bourne fires it back in. Leadoff man aboard for Chicago for the 2nd time tonight.
Well, Sean Markham has really done a nice job to this point. He's kept them off bay. The first time through there, they were 1 for 9 going through the lineup. He made 1 mistake, and that was a breaking ball that stayed middle of the plate. And there it was. That's the difference in the game. Other than that, he's been just fine. Giving up 3 hits. He's changed speeds very well. He has 5 strikeouts. He hasn't walked anybody.
No. Alexei Ramirez will be the batter. He's 0 for 1, struck out his first time up. Gillespie does not have a stolen base on the year. He's been caught once.
Yeah, if they do anything, you know, they've only stolen 7 bases, been caught 11 times. If Robin wants to do anything, he's going to have to start the runner, and hopefully the guy can put the ball in play like he did the first night we were in town. There you go.
Runner goes, and Ramirez pops it up, shallow left. Brantley's there. And that's out number 1.
You get a 1-0 count, you think you're going to get something, but you see Markham can pitch backwards. He changes speeds. So as a hitter, you really have to try and hit the ball on the ground. That was a breaking ball, and he had Ramirez out on his front foot, even though the runner started. You got to try and hit the ball on the ground on a hit and run.
Let's go down to Andre with more on Markham.
You know, the one thing Tito Francona said yesterday about Sean Markham, he wanted him to enjoy this moment, enjoy being back here on a major league mound because he deserves it. After everything that he's gone through to get back here, he just said, take a deep breath. Don't worry about when your next start is. Go out there and pitch the way you know how because you deserve this moment in time for everything you've been through.
Well, you know, he's taken that advice to heart because he's pitched like he's never missed a beat.
But, you know, you got to love that as a player, your manager coming up. Hey, enjoy it, man. You've worked hard for it. You went down. You paid your dues. You're back to the big leagues. Go out and enjoy it. That's good to hear.
Yeah, don't worry about where you're going to be a week from now or tomorrow. Right. Just enjoy tonight. Enjoy that moment. He's pitching very well. Unfortunately, Carlos Rodon is pitching equally as well, if not just a little bit better for Chicago. 1-0 ball game. Hits are even now at 3 apiece. Flowers only saw 1 pitch his first time up. He fouled out to Brandon Moss at first. I think everybody's surprised that wasn't called a strike. Been a couple of those tonight where everybody just sort of pauses and said, what you didn't know what?
Yeah, I think Hayes was holding it. Markham looked in a little extra long.
Yeah. Left field, Brantley gliding back makes the catch, 2 down. Time for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pulaski. All right, here's 1-0 Chicago. Carlos Sanchez will bat with 2 down and a runner at first. Struck out his only time up in the third inning. Little squib job to short. Ramirez off balance throw and a nice one. And the inning is over. We've played 5 in Chicago. It's the White Sox 1 and the Indians nothing.
Drive Rewards TV code is Santana.
6th inning here in Chicago. The White Sox with a 1-0 lead. Jose Ramirez, Michael Brantley, and Ryan Rayburn due for Cleveland. Rodon has gone 5. He has given up just 3 hits. And all 3 of them have been singles.
The times he has walked somebody, he's been able to come back and get the double play ball on the very next hitter. So hopefully you can get this guy on who can run a little bit, getting into the middle part of that lineup, going through the 3rd time now. Yeah, I remember the first time they brought this guy in. Robin brought him in with the bases loaded situation. And his first major league appearance, and it could be a little frightening. You know, he walked a couple of guys, ended up having a strikeout, and we knew they were going to, use him in the bullpen. But when you bring in a rookie, do you bring him in with the bases loaded?
Well, normally I would say no, but I go back to the comment I read to you from Ventura from spring training, and it just tells you how he feels about it.
Right.
Mature, strong, feels like he can handle things that a normal rookie wouldn't be able to handle. Still, even with that, it's a tough spot to put him in.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he obviously feels that way, and I can see that.
2-2. I mean, look, I don't care. You could be in the big leagues 10 years. You come into a bases loaded situation, all of the pressure is on you. You have nowhere to go. So
yeah, no room for error.
I guess it doesn't matter what level you are. He just walked Ramirez, and that might be a very good sign for the Indians because he has been exciting to watch in this series.
Well, you can see the kind of stuff he has. He can be erratic. He can walk a lot, and he can also strike out a lot if he makes his pitches. The key, I think, is if you can get the count in your favor. He can't throw those nasty sliders to get you to chase that are out of the zone that he has.
Now Brantley facing him now for the 3rd time tonight. You always wonder about that 3rd time through the lineup. That's when the scales usually tip in favor of the hitters.
Unless you have really nasty stuff that night, and you're going to get through more than 3 times. He's into the 6th inning now.
Runner goes. Great jump. And again, it's a stolen base for Jose Ramirez, his 2nd of the night.
Yeah, I like it. You see, Ramirez doesn't waste any time. He gets out there, gets after it. His 2nd stolen base. You know, and it takes a perfect throw. He's got a good read on him. He gets that. That throw was not bad by Flowers, but it just wasn't low enough. You almost have to make the perfect throw if you get the good jump. That was close. But now you've got that tying run in scoring position and nobody out. So what Ramirez has done in the number 2 hole, you know, since he's been in here has been fun to watch. He's brought some energy to the top of the lineup.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what Terry Francona decides to do when Santana's ready to play again. Does he put him right back in the 2 hole?
That would be a good question.
Or do you maybe put him down in the 5 spot?
5 or lower. We'll see.
Upstairs to Michael Brantley.
Now this is where you, as the Indians, you have to fundamentally get this guy home, get him over and get him in.
And Brantley taking fastball, and they got that one up to 95.
Now 2-1 pitch, and he goes down and in at the knees. I don't know if Michael thought that was something he wasn't looking for, where he could handle or maybe pull that pitch. Now if you're Ramirez on second base here, you also your heads up for his slider, where he might be able to bounce it if he tries to get Brantley to chase it, where you can get to third base, anticipate that ball being in the dirt like that.
Yeah, full count.
Because you know if you're going to throw Brantley that breaking ball, you're going to try and bury it. You're not going to want to hang it. Flowers did a nice job of picking it. Okay, a big pitch here.
The 3-2 to Brantley. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out. 4th strikeout for Rodon. And a rare swing and a miss by Brantley.
Tell you what, he stayed inside with Michael. He made that good 2-1 pitch down and in, and he comes right back on the full count with that same pitch. And Brantley had to swing because it was called a strike earlier in the count. So you got to swing at that pitch, and he gets a big strikeout.
You know, let's see what Ryan Rayburn can do. He has walked and struck out tonight. Down low, ball 1. Rayburn has hit .316 with a runner in scoring position. Low 2-0.
See, that's that slider you can lay off when you're ahead of him. He threw Rayburn that slider twice last at bat. He was able to get him to strike out. Now this is a team that Rayburn usually has a lot of success against, as far as driving in runs, hitting home runs, against the White Sox.
Well, he can sit and really zero in right here.
Yeah. Well, let's see. The first time he faced him when he walked him, it was a 2-0 breaking ball that he threw for a strike. But I bet Ryan's sitting for one pitch, that number 1. He got it, fouled it off into the glove.
Yeah, elevated it. Wasn't really in the nitro zone.
No, but it wasn't. But you're still looking for that pitch, so you can get after it. That's the pitch he was looking for. He just Rodon put it in a good spot.
No move or no throw to second after he spun around. And Rayburn takes. It's in there for a strike. Fastball evens the count at 2-2.
Well, here you go. It's a fastball. Challenged him. That's right down Broadway.
Low. And now a full count. The 3-2. Low and in, ball 4. He's walked 2 in the inning. And the batter now is Nick Swisher, who bounced into a fielder's choice that ended the first inning, and he drew a walk back in the 4th. And Don Cooper will make a visit to the mound. No activity in the White Sox bullpen at this time.
No, he's going to settle down right now. For Jose Ramirez in this series, 3 stolen bases. He hasn't wasted any time tonight. A couple of times they're bang bang, but he got the good jump. The throws were there. He beats the throws. You know, when you're not hitting the baseball, the Indians haven't been hitting the cover off the ball, you need to do something. Try and generate something happening.
He's been a guy to try to generate offense so far. He has 4 hits. That leads the team in the series. Got the 3 stolen bases. Driven in a couple of runs. Now he represents the tying run in scoring position with 1 out here in the 6th. Nick Swisher 1 for 7 against Chicago pitching so far.
Now the White Sox are going to get somebody up in their pen.
Jake Petrichka, right-hander, getting loose. Now 94 pitches on the night, I believe, for Carlos Rodon. Left-hander Jennings also getting loose. Swisher takes a strike. In tight.
Not going to give him much breathing room, are they? They're going to try and stay inside, make him fight that ball off.
To center field, and that will drop for a base hit. And they're loaded up now, as stopping at third is Ramirez. He had to hold up to make sure Eaton wouldn't come in and make a circus catch, but Swisher with a line drive to load him up with 1 out in the 6th.
Well, that ball, he smoked that ball right back up the middle. No way Eaton was going to get there. I know Ramirez was not going to score. He got a fastball. He didn't get that one inside enough. You have to make sure it's going to fall. It does. So Ramirez is only going to go 90 feet. They have the bases loaded now, and a good opportunity in this game to take the lead.
Mike Aviles will be the batter, and Aviles 1 for 2 tonight. He has singled Bounced into a double play in the 4th inning. Don Cooper on the horn. Is the right-hander ready? That might give Robin Ventura pause to consider whether he wants Rodon to face Aviles or not. I guess he's going to stay with him. So here we go. 1-0 Chicago. And Aviles takes low and away, ball 1.
Well, the Indians looking for something they could hit in the air, get one home. Rodon looking for a ground ball.
Back out of play. 1-1 to count. There's a liner to left. And Cabrera makes the catch, tagging at third, and coming home with the tying run is Ramirez. 1-1 our score. Aviles with his 5th RBI on the year.
Okay, job well done. They got him in. Sacrifice fly, the 19th sac fly for the Indians.
So again, the aggressive base running by Ramirez helped to set up the inning. Stolen base. Kept the pressure on the pitcher. He would walk Rayburn, and the base hit by Swisher to load him. Now Aviles delivers. And Brandon Moss 0 for 2 on the night to the plate. Ventura again will stay with the rookie Rodon. He's got a lefty, righty, both ready in the bullpen.
Yeah, he's going to let him. He got into this. He's going to give him his opportunity to get out of this and keep it a tie game, because if he doesn't get Moss, I bet he is gone.
Now, if Moss gets him, he's going to be on the hook.
Yeah, but I mean, this is where you test some young pitchers to see if they can get out of certain things. He had an opportunity. He's leaving them in for a reason.
Moss takes, and it's a strike. Last night, off Zach Putnam, Moss got one about letter high, and he jerked it out of here. Up and away. 2 balls and a strike. Moss drives one to deep left field. Back is Cabrera on the track at the wall, and he makes the catch right in front of the Sox bullpen. And the inning is over. Oh, Moss nearly drove one out of here. Instead, we've got a tie ball game, middle of the 6th. 1-1, bottom of the 6th. Sean Markham now going through the White Sox lineup for the 3rd time tonight. First time through, they were 1 for 9. Second time through, they were 2 for 9. With the home run by this guy.
Right.
Out of play. It's 0-2. Markham really has pitched well. Been impressive.
He sure has. They come back, they tie the score. Love to see him get through this top 3. Tell you what, this inning he started him off with a curveball. He's thrown 2 in this at bat.
That's a sign of a true veteran who's been around, knows his craft. Got to save a little something, throw him a little different wrinkle. Missed outside with it.
Nice.
Got him looking. Locked him up with a fastball over the inside corner. And that's a half dozen Ks for Markham. 1 down.
Nice pitch. You know, teased him away with the curveballs. He fouled one off and he comes inside and locks him up. Could not pull the trigger on it. That goes to show you that if you use both sides of the plate, those hitters, you'll get their respect. They're looking at one half of the plate. They can be a lot tougher.
Curveball, and that one finds the outside corner. You know, you and I were talking about that with somebody the other day about how you see a pitcher go out, and generally it's maybe a young pitcher, but first time through the lineup, he shows you everything he's got.
Yeah.
Whereas you want to try to save something for second or third time through the lineup.
You get guys in scoring position, things like that.
Right. So you want to have a hold card, if you will.
Yes, it's a surprise if you can. Sometimes, you know, that's why when you want to get to the starters, you want to get to them early, because if they get into a rhythm, they'll save something for you. They'll have it. When a guy's got to gets into some jams early, you get into them in the middle part of the game, it's time for you to get them. I could see on this at bat, you could see Cabrera just trying to go the other way with everything.
And on the 1-2, just off the outside corner. Now he's going in. And that's hit to center, but Bourne is there. 2 down. In-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Adam Eaton in the 3rd. Hit his first home run of the year. That's been it for Chicago. For the Indians, Jose Ramirez walked, stole second, went to 3rd on a base hit by Swisher, came home on a sac fly by Aviles. And that has been it. Third straight well-pitched game in this series. Hit to 3rd. Avila scoops it. Sets and throws. Got him. 1, 2, 3 go the Sox. Sean Markham continues to mow him down. We're tied at 1.
Mattress, located in all living furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable.
Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen is for left-hander Dan Jennings. 28-year-old, 6'3", 210 pounds. Came from the Marlins for Andre Rienzo last offseason.
Well, nice trade because Jennings, he pitched an inning last night. He had a strikeout with zeros across the board, but their bullpen, they strengthened that in the offseason. Something they had to do.
Brett Hayes will lead off for Cleveland, then Michael Bourne and Jason Kipnis. Curveball in for a strike. That's hit foul up the third base side. Evidently, this was a move that Dan Jennings had to make last year because he had to trade a guy that had the same name as him because there would be just too much confusion in the organization.
Yeah, oh yeah, right.
Dan Jennings, the general manager, who's now the manager for the Marlins.
Right. Yes, he is. Stepped down from the general manager's office and put the uniform on.
I know you'll love this. Ground ball foul, third base side. The trade between the White Sox and the Marlins and consummated this deal. It was a trade that was recommended by Billy Shear.
Oh yeah, okay. Billy, Buffalo boy, scout here for the Chicago White Sox. Haven't had a chance to see him this year because he's laid up.
He's on the mend, we understand.
Yeah, Achilles problem. Left-handed pitcher in his day with the Tigers, the Reds. I'm sure he may be watching on the dish. If you're there, Billy, we miss you. We'll see you down the road. I'll race you for 100 when I see you.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Hayes twice has flied to center tonight. First time he really barreled it up. But Eaton made a nice read and run and catch on the play. Now the 2-2. Low and a full count. Michael Bourne waiting, and then Jason Kipnis. Out of play right side. Now the payoff pitch. And it just missed inside for ball 4. Jennings had a long look in at Dale Scott. Indians have the leadoff man aboard here in the 7th. Injury report brought to you by the injury lawyers at Elk and Elk. Jacoby Ellsbury on the DL for New York. Drew Pomerantz, the former Indian, is down for Oakland. Boy, the A's are scuffling now, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
They lost 9 out of 11.
They hired Ron Washington back to come back and help the infield defense.
Bourne, I don't know. He looked like he was going to offer at it, then he pulled it back, and it's a strike.
Well, that's the 6th walk by Sox pitching tonight. They were able to take advantage of it last inning when they had the leadoff walk. That was Ramirez who was able to come around and score, but he did steal second base. They've had their share of base runners. I know only 4 hits, but you figure 6 walks. They did hit into 2 double plays, 1 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th.
Now the walks helped account for the Indians' only run in that 6th inning. In on the grass at 3rd is Connor Gillespie. Abreu holding Hayes at 1st. Pulled it back. You can see the catcher Flowers. He wanted the pitch up. It's a pitch maybe you can get a guy to try to bunt and pop it straight
up in the air.
2 arms up in the Chicago bullpen. Zach Duke, the left-hander. Jake Petrichko, we told you, was up earlier. Just tell the right-handers to sit down. You're just up for show.
You know, it usually is that way. No question.
One. Bourne bunts it back toward the mound. Jennings goes to second, throws it into center field. Hayes kind of stumbled coming up out of the base, so he stays right there at second. He wanted to go to 3rd, but when he came off the base, he immediately stumbled and went down to a knee, so just stay right there.
Well, and there's not much you could do. I mean, he wanted to go try and get the lead run. It was a bad throw to second base. They'll probably give him a sacrifice and a fielder's choice here. Don't know if they'll give him an error, but I don't know if they would have got him anyway. You should get an out in that situation if you're a pitcher. So here you go. You could bunt again to keep the pressure on him. He threw 1 away. A lot of times pitchers don't like to make that throw once they get the ball. Once you've already made 1 bad throw, bunt it back to him again. Sacrifice, fielder's choice.
Yeah, that's
got
you,
Joe. That's what I thought.
All right, so here's Jason Kipnis. Sox at the corners. They're not really convinced maybe that Kipnis is going to bunt here yet.
Why would?
Now he squares and bunts it up the 3rd baseline.
Nice.
It stays fair. Throw to 1st. Close play. Got him by a whisker.
Yeah, that was a dandy.
Wow, that's a dynamite play by 3rd baseman Connor Gillespie. Was an even better bunt by Kipnis. I thought he had a hit there for sure. But watch this play by Gillespie. Bare hand. Flips it down there in time to get him.
Yeah, that's there's not much you could do. He almost had the bonus. That was a great bunt. He had it on the dirt and it was going to stay there, but he gets his job done. Now you've got the go-ahead run at 3rd base.
And Jose Ramirez, the batter, he's singled in the 1st. He's walked twice since then. Scored the Indians' only run in the 6th. White Sox bring the infield in.
Well, he's had a good series. Now matter it's getting something you like you can drive.
Outside ball 1.
Four out of the 6 times, and you got to love it with infield in too.
Pitch. Checks and it was outside. How about Jose Ramirez had 1 hit against left-handed pitchers before the series
he was 1
started.
for 28 coming in.
Now he's got 4 in this series alone. 2-0 pitch. Boy, he is just locked in, man. He's not going to chase, not going to help him out. Whether or not he's working around him or he's just trying to be too fine, I don't know. We'll find out here in a moment because Don Cooper's running out of patience.
Checking to see the Duke's ready for Brantley. Because this left-hander, after the walk, fielder's choice, he didn't get an out.
Comes back and throws a strike, 3-0. And now Ramirez will sit on a pitch and see if he gets it.
Why not? Sit on the fastball, get it, drive it, hit it in the air.
(3-1) base hit left field. That's going to score. Hayes with the go-ahead run. Bourne coming around third. He'll stop right there.
That's, see, you don't have to hit it hard with that infield in as long as it's not directly at one of the fielders.
Jose Ramirez with his 5th hit in the series, and all 5 off the left-handers. And this time he's got a big RBI, his 3rd in the series, and the Indians have a 2-1 lead.
Well, it's going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. He got a ball, it jammed him, but he was patient enough to get the count in his favor. He gets enough of that ground ball to get it in the left field. It's going to score the go-ahead run. They're up 2-1. You can see Jennings upset with himself. But now the Indians with a chance to put a crooked number up.
Yeah, Michael Brantley, the batter, and at least for now, Ventura will stay with Dan Jennings. Inside, ball 1. Not only does Ramirez have 3 RBIs, but all 3 of them have come in clutch situations that have given the team the lead.
Right. He's been the right man in the right spot in this series. A lot of energy. He's been on base all 4 times tonight. He has 2 stolen bases. Scored a run, knocked in 1.
(1-0) pitch up high. Well, I remember a couple days ago I gave you the numbers that last year when Ramirez went into the 2-hole, he hit .298. .299 last year when he batted in the 2-hole. And I know your point is it shouldn't matter as long as you're in one of those 9 spots, you're in the lineup, that's all that matters. But for him, it seems to make a difference.
Well,
whether it's psychological or whatever.
When you're not scoring as a team, you have to hit. You know what I mean? So when he wasn't hitting all year, he couldn't hit from the right side of the plate against left-handers. Terry was forced to change the lineup for everybody.
I'm thinking to myself, maybe because he's batting, when he was batting down 8th or 9th, he's thinking, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Now he's in the 2 spot. He knows he's got Kipnis in front of him, Brantley behind him, and suddenly he just changes.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to figure out.
All I know is it's working.
Well, and you go up to and you go down. He couldn't go any lower from the right side of the plate. 1 for 28. And it just so and like I said earlier, I thought that when we got to Chicago, I thought Aviles would be playing short.
Yeah,
I really did. I didn't think he'd be playing third, and Ramirez stayed in there. And by golly, it's a good thing he did get hot because you know, he saved his life.
Well, this Dan Jennings has just kind of come unraveled. He's 3-1 to Brantley now.
Well, he set up this whole inning by himself, walking the 8th hitter. He didn't get an out on the sacrifice bunt by Bourne. They did get an out on Kipnis' beautiful sacrifice bunt. Then he fell behind Ramirez. He's behind Brantley. And Robin's thinking right now, my gosh, this has got to be his last hitter, I would think.
I'm sure there are some that are wondering why his last hitter wasn't the last guy. With double barrel action up in that pen. Here's the 3-1 now to Brantley. And he ropes it down the right field line. That's headed all the way to the corner, and it's a fair ball. Up against the wall. Scoring is born. Ramirez coming around third. He'll be waved home. He scores two. Michael Brantley with a 2-run double to right. And the Indians have scored 3 times here in the 7th to take a 4-1 advantage. Now Brantley in a 3-1 count. Looking for his pitch, and he didn't miss it this time.
Oh, sir. Good hitters have a way to get you when they get you in their counts. And he short hops a wall, and with the speed of Ramirez, he's able to score from first base. And he can cruise in easily for Michael Brantley. The double, 2 RBIs, give 25, making a 4-1 Tribe lead.
So Jennings is out. Timeout for a pitching change. Indians in the lead. In the 7th to take the lead. David Murphy will pinch hit for Ryan Rayburn after Robin Ventura goes to the right-hander Jake Petrichka here.
Petrichka coming on for the 13th time. Jennings just a third of an inning, a couple of hits, walked one, and to this point has allowed 2.
Michael Brantley out there in scoring position at second base.
Make it 3.
Murphy 3 for 10 as a pinch hitter. Couple of homers. It's interesting. Rayburn and Murphy, they're sort of interchangeable. They usually pinch hit for one another because they both have 10 at bats in the pinch hit role.
He's pretty loyal to that platoon.
And they're both 3 for 10 as pinch hitters. 0-2 inside. And a 1-2. Just a piece of that to stay alive. A chilly night in Chicago. We had a rain delay to start. Just about a half an hour. 1-2 pitch upstairs. There's Dan Jennings, who went 1/3 of an inning. Got roughed up. Indians took advantage. 2-2. And a foul back. And again,
he set the whole thing up on himself.
The leadoff walk, both innings, 6th and 7th. The leadoff walk is what
they took advantage of it. Absolutely. That's why you have to make them pay. That was their 6th walk of the night. And then he hurt himself by not getting it out on a sacrifice. So that gave him 1st and 2nd. They moved him along.
Swung out and missed. He finally got him, strikes him out. 2 down. All right, as we promised you earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. And Jose Ramirez is having himself quite a series. Sac fly. Game 1 gave the Indians the lead. This one put him ahead last night.
Yeah. He has had a very good series. Infield in.
He did it again.
Tied game 1-1. He gets the 2nd run in there, ends up scoring the 4th run. So he's had a very good series.
Nick Swisher singled his last time up. And that pitch is inside for ball 1.
Time to go over the signs again.
And Swisher checks. It's a called strike. A 1-1. Swisher checks a little bit high. 2 balls and a strike. They're in the 13th inning in Pittsburgh, where the Twins have gone ahead of the Pirates 4-3. Minnesota continues to play well. Started the night 3 games back.
Yeah, they're looking to go 6 games over the 500 mark if they can hold on.
Swish swings and misses, full count. Murph tells me it was a Joe Mauer solo homer to put Minnesota ahead. His first of the year.
No kidding.
Tigers beat the Brewers 5-2 earlier. Swisher awaiting a payoff pitch now from Jake Petrichka with 2 down here in the 7th. Bounces it to second. And that'll end the inning. Indians score 3 times here in the 7th. Jose Ramirez delivering. And so does Michael Brantley. Time now for the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. As we go to the bottom of the 7th inning, David Murphy stays in the game in right field. Sean Markham will stay in the game on the bump.
Why not?
Bullpen is busy behind him.
Sean Markham's been very good tonight. 3 hits allowed, first 6 innings. He's been fun to watch, really.
Yeah, I mean, he has been vintage Sean Markham. Deception, location.
Changing speeds, moving it in, moving it out, you know, keeping him off the barrel of the bat.
Adam LaRoche has one of the 3 White Sox hits tonight. He singled back in the 2nd inning. Slowly tapped with the shift on. This will be Ramirez, the shortstop, who throws him out.
Speaking of Sean Markham, let's watch how he has done that. Changing speeds, change-ups, throwing fastballs, moving it in, moving it out. Off-speed pitches. You either beat it in the ground or you pop it up. He made one little mistake, and that was to Adam Eaton, who hit the home run in the 3rd. Other than that, he's been very good tonight. You know, and they witnessed Kluber in this series. Bauer last night. Markham's going in there, and it's a totally different animal. And then they're going to get Salazar tomorrow. They're going to see some more gas and some good change-ups. Look at that. Drive a hitter nuts.
He's like the old comfortable 0 for 4.
Oh, that's right. You go out there. Catfish, Hunter, Ferguson, Jenkins at the end of their, you know, his career. Let's go down.
Pop it up, beat it into the ground.
You're going to get something to hit. But boy, it's just not going to be on the barrel. It's going to be off the end. It's going to be on the trademark. You're going to be out in front, or it's going to be a little tardy.
Let's go down to Andre.
Currently right now Sean Markham sits at 85 pitches, guys. If you're curious, his 2 longest starts of the season came on May 8th versus Pawtucket. He threw 101 pitches in 8 innings, and May 13th he threw 100 pitches against Lehigh in 7 innings. So he's gone this long in a couple games this month already.
All right, thanks, Andre. And you know, Rick, you always talk about stress-free innings. Well, most of his innings have been stress-free.
They certainly have.
He's never had more than 1 runner on tonight.
You'd not be willing to ask Terry or Mickey Callaway at the end of the game, what did you really expect from Sean Markham? And they're going to say, well, we knew he was going to compete. But, you know, you don't expect him to go out there and go 7 or 8 innings with a start like this. But he certainly is. And they're talking right now saying, all right, I think he's given them more than they have expected right now, to be honest with you. Good for him. As Tito said, enjoy it.
Good pitch. Fastball darts the outside corner. That's hit a long way, and that's not coming back. Connor Gillespie in a good count, 2-1. He was sitting on his pitch, and he got one to drive and drives it out of here. His 2nd home run of the year, 2nd hit of the night, and it's a 4-2 ball game. And here comes Terry Francona, and that will probably be the end of the night for Sean Markham as he makes his signal. And it's going to be Zach McAllister who will be coming in for Cleveland.
I think both home runs he's given up tonight were pretty much the same pitch.
I was just going to say the same thing, yeah.
You know, so a couple, but he gets a pat on the back. Good job by Sean Markham. 6 2/3 innings, 4 hits and 2 runs.
McAllister coming on when we come back. Well, the man on your right, Connor Gillespie, has homered for Chicago to cut the deficit to 4-2. Zach McAllister will come on with 2 outs here in the 7th inning, and Alexei Ramirez will be the batter. We had a 31-minute rain delay at the start tonight. Damp evening in Chicago. But it's been a well-pitched ball game. And the Indians holding to a 4-2 lead. Ramirez, you can see him, he's just kind of laughing. He didn't like the call by home plate umpire Dale Scott. Out of play. There's Sean Markham taken out after the home run by Gillespie. The 1-2. Weekly bounce towards second. Kipnis from the outfield grass throws him out. And the inning is over. We've played 7 in Chicago, and the Indians lead it 4-2. Transmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. (4-2) Cleveland, 8th inning. We'll get a pitch hitter now for Mike Aviles. It'll be Lonnie Chisenhall, who will face the right-handed Jake Petrichka. Lonnie 0 for 2 on the year as a pinch hitter. And he takes a strike. Oh, and 2 the count. And he takes a called third. One down here in the 8th. Enter now for a chance to win a trip to the All-Star Game on Fox for you and 3 of your friends. Upload 2 photos at foxsports.com/fantasticallstar now through June 3rd. Brandon Moss 0 for 3 on the night. Moss came up just shy back in that 6th inning of hitting a 3-run homer. Drove one to the opposite field to deep left, and Cabrera made the catch right in front of the wall. Squibs it off the end of the bat, but foul. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. With 2 strikes, White Sox go to the full shift. And down and in. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 1 out here in the 8th, and the Indians up 4-2. Inside, a full count, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Chases, and he strikes out. 2 down. Petrichka has struck out 3 of the 4 batters he has faced. And it will bring up the catcher, Brett Hayes. Just a reminder, it's a night game to wrap up the 4-game series tomorrow evening, same time, right here from Chicago. Supposed to warm up a little bit tomorrow. Be a little more.
Danny Salazar, John Danks, the pitchers for tomorrow. I thought it was colder last night than tonight. How about you?
Yeah, the wind has definitely died down after that rain came through. You don't have that cold air coming off the lake. Up and away. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, that delay was there because of Mike right here. It was just a matter of time. Wasn't it?
1-1. Swung on and missed.
He always guarantees us good weather when we're here. Plus, we get to go to Wrigley Field 2 times. I'm sure he'll have something for us over there.
Looking forward to seeing the new Wrigley renovations. Hayes off the end of the bat to the shortstop, Ramirez. The Indians go in order. We go to the bottom of the 8th, 4-2 Cleveland. Lonnie Chisenhall stays in the game at third base. Zach McAllister, who got the, whoa, what do you got there? Is that a Jose Ramirez ball? That looks like his hair, doesn't it?
Look at that.
That's pretty funny.
Who did that, Andre?
They tell me Carlos Carrasco is the culprit. Pretty talented.
Goes to show you pitchers have too much time on their hands.
There it
is, Ramirez. There you go. That's the back of the jersey. Very good.
Swing and a miss by Flowers. He's an artiste. Flowers has fouled out, flied out. And the 1-1 from McAllister is popped up. Kipnis flying out into the outfield makes the catch. 1 away. Saturday it's baseball on Fox Sports 1. Brewers, Braves at 3:30 Eastern. Then at 7, return of baseball night in America on Fox as the Cardinals and Royals renew their in-state rivalry. Coverage begins at 3:30 Eastern on your home for baseball every Saturday. Fox and Fox Sports 1. Inside, ball 1 to Carlos Sanchez, who is 0 for 2. And 2 quick strikes. Thought that first pitch was a strike. I guess it was a 1-2. And that's out of play. McAllister ready with a 1-2. And breaking ball down and in. Sanchez, no offer. And the 2-2. Fastball missed, full count. To center field, Bourne racing over into the gap, makes the catch. 2 down. Nice read and a running grab made by Bourne in center.
Well, you know, McAllister in that situation had to just throw it. Let's go. You got to hit it. I'm not going to walk you. You hit a line drive, but Bourne runs it down. Yeah, you can't walk anybody. This part of the ball game, when you're up 2 runs, they've got to hit their way on.
Top of the order, Adam Eaton takes it. Slow ball 1. And it looks like Cody Allen is going to start to get ready now in the Cleveland pen. Zipchinski as well, just in case. Eaton homered in the 3rd. It gave Chicago a 1-0 lead. The lead they would hold until the 6th when the Indians tied it. Right back to McAllister. Inning over. Zach has retired all 4 Sox hitters that he has faced and will go to the 9th. 4-2 Cleveland. Tribe leads it 4-2. Ninth inning. New pitcher for Chicago, Zach Putnam.
Putnam came into yesterday's ball game, pitched an inning, gave up the one hit, the home run to Brandon Moss. That gave them a extra run. Tried to throw that fastball by him upstairs. Moss got on top of it, hit the home run, but he had a very good changeup last night. Putnam did. He had 3 strikeouts. Struck out the side other than that home run.
And Michael Bourne will lead off. Jason Kipnis bats second. Jose Ramirez third here in the ninth for the Tribe. Strike called. Bourne a base hit back in the 5th inning. And then as he attempted to sacrifice in the 7th, a play that could very well have been a turning point in the game, because the pitcher Jennings fielded the bunt and then turned to try and throw out Hayes at second base, but he threw it into center field. So the Indians had their first 2 on with nobody out in the 7th inning. And eventually they would end up scoring 3 times.
Yeah, I think that was a turning point. They didn't get an out in that situation. Totally different inning if you get one.
In the dirt. It's 2-2.
Natives getting restless. They want a free baseball.
Those who remain feel they're entitled to whatever they want. Bourne takes strike 3 called. 1 down in the 9th. Top of the order, Jason Kipnis. $15,146 the attendance here tonight. Kipnis a bouncer to first, and Abreu will flip it. 2 down. Pat O'Brien, play of the game, came in the 7th inning. Jose Ramirez at the plate in a 1-1 ball game. He puts the Tribe ahead.
Infield in, didn't hit it hard, hit it in the right spot, and then Michael Brantley counting his favor and drilled it into right field. Scored a pair. 3-run 7th, gotta love it.
Now with 2 down, here's Ramirez. He's reached base safely all 4 times tonight. 2 hits, 2 walks, a ribby, 2 runs scored, 2 stolen bases. Bottom of the zone, a strike called, 1-1. Good pitch. Zach Putnam made his major league debut with the Indians in 2011. Since then, he's pitched with the Rockies, the Cubs, now the last 2 years with the White Sox. To left, Cabrera makes the running catch, and the Indians go 1-2-3. Now it's Cody Allen time as we go to the bottom of the ninth in Chi-Town. Make Rodon get in the zone, and the Indians they only managed a run off of Rodon. He did a nice job, other than the fact that he did have some traffic because he walked 4.
Right.
But you can tell he's got good stuff, and for a rookie,
22 years old.
I see why they're high on him.
They are high on him. He got a couple double play balls when needed.
Sean Markham was a lot of fun to watch tonight. It's been a long time. You have to go back to 2013 since he started a game in the big leagues. And he made the most of his opportunity here tonight. Allowed just 2 solo home runs.
Well, looking to go 5-0 against the White Sox in his career. It's up to Cody Allen to see if he can get save number 8. You can see his numbers against the batters he has to face. Cabrera, Abreu, LaRoche, pretty good.
Fastball, ball 1 outside to Melky Cabrera. There's a good fastball in for a strike to even the count. Thought it was interesting what Cody Allen told Andre before the game when he sat down with him about watching a guy like Corey Kluber pitch. He said it's great to watch him. He said, unfortunately, most of us, we can't do the things that he does. Michael Bourne makes the catch in center field, 1 down here in the 9th. And he's got such ability to throw different pitches and manipulate the baseball. He said most of us, we just don't have that kind of ability. But he said there are things you pick up from him watching him pitch, and things that you can learn.
Well, that's a special guy right there with his stuff. And Cody Allen has pretty good stuff of his own right. He threw the ball very well, a 4-out save last night. Good fastball to go with his curveball. They've got to get back on track.
Breaking ball low to Abreu. He is 0 for 3 tonight. 2 for 10 in the series. the middle, and that's going to find its way into the outfield. And now the tying run will be at the plate the rest of the inning for Chicago.
Well, he continues his hitting streak. Making 15 now. Big man, he finds a way, doesn't he? Finds a way. That ball, I mean, not a bad pitch down, but hits it right up the middle. That's the 5th hit for the Sox tonight. They have the 3 singles and, of course, the 2 homers. That's how they got their 2 runs, solo home runs.
Adam LaRoche singled in the 2nd, popped up in the 4th, grounded out in the 7th. And it's high, ball 1. Pretty good give and take. They were both involved in the conversation here, trying to get a consensus on what they wanted to do here against LaRoche. LaRoche and then Garcia both with tremendous power. And it's low, 2-0. Three balls, no strikes. Garcia waits. Moss not really holding Abreu at first. Ball 4.
Well, he didn't come close there to LaRoche.
And now the tying run is aboard. The winning run is at the plate.
Going to get a pinch runner now for LaRoche at first.
Bonifacio will come on to run as Mickey Callaway goes to the mound. So Bonifacio will run at first. Back on April 20th, it was a game that Cody Allen would just as soon forget.
Yeah, that was a Trevor Bauer game. At that one, they had 4 runs that they scored in that ball game. But they had their meeting at the mound, and Allen does have a tough hitter to face right here in Garcia. But a ground ball away from getting out of it.
And Garcia twice has grounded out tonight. Both times he grounded out to the third baseman. Lonnie Chisnall at the hot corner now. Whoa, ball 1. Cody, you could see him screaming after that last pitch. It's an emotional game, and when you're in that closer's role, you know how much is riding on your ability to get things done. And he's falling behind Garcia 2-0, and this is dangerous. With Gillespie waiting on deck. Foul back. That was a quality pitch, 2-0. Well, he went outside corner.
And it sort of shocked me after 6 straight balls that, he went after that one instead of making him get in the zone. I mean, look at that. That's at the knees and down. But You know, hitters, they think they're going to get that fastball. They want to get after it. That was a well-located heater.
That fastball took off on him, and it's 3-1.
You know, that pretty much turns it into another fastball situation, and you better locate him.
Now the 3-1. It's a little bit outside, ball 4, and the bases are loaded. A single and back-to-back walks. And now we got trouble.
Well, a base hit could tie this ball game up now.
They're going to get the bullpen cranking. But Connor Gillespie will be the batter, and he has had a good night with a single in the 5th, and then he homered in the 7th. He has 4 hits in the series. And the bases are loaded with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th.
And the few that remain here are on their feet.
Gillespie pops it up.
That's in play.
Playable for Chisenhall. And 2 down. Wow, went after the first pitch after back-to-back walks. And fouls out for out number 2.
Boy, you got to love that. That right there just switches the whole momentum. It gives Cody a lot more confidence. After the 2 walks, you get a hitter to put that first pitch in play, and they can get it out in foul territory. That gives him a little shot of adrenaline.
Now Alexei Ramirez. Breaking ball and a beauty. Drops in for strike 1. Ramirez had an 11-game hitting streak coming into this series. Chops one slowly towards third. Chisenhall, no play anywhere. White Sox get a run in. It's a 1-run game. Boy, Ramirez just a little dribbler toward third, and after going 0 for 11 to start the series, he gets his first hit and an RBI on a ball that didn't go more than what, 50 feet maybe?
Well, and you're playing back. It's a curveball. He just tops it. Lonnie coming in and says, I'm not going to make this throw here because I'm not going to get him. You don't want to throw it away. So he holds on to it. And now everybody moves up a base. They get one in. It's a 4-3 ball game. The base is loaded and 2 out.
Going to get a pinch hitter for Tyler Flowers. It'll be the left-handed hitting J.B. Shutt. Bases still loaded. 2 down. 1-run game now. And a strike to the outside corner. Swung out and missed, chased one in the dirt. And Bonifacio doesn't come home. And people in the stands are throwing their arms in the air because they remember what Adam Eaton did earlier in the series.
Yeah, you won't see what Adam Eaton did ever again. That close. You can see this one trickles off to the grass. That went about twice as far. But he hesitated. minute you hesitate, you can't start back up again. So now it's an 0-2 count.
Cody Allen sits. He deals. Swing and a miss. He struck him out to end the game as the White Sox leave him loaded. Indians hang on for a 1-run victory. 4-3 is the final, as the Indians have now won 2 of the first 3 in the series. Cody Allen with the curveball nails down his 8th save of the year, and Sean Markham gets the win in his first start in 2 years in the big leagues. Loss goes to Dan Jennings of Chicago. And for the Indians with the win, they are now 16-23. White Sox fall a game below 500 at 18-19 on the year.